It's good. I got a good vibe from the team right now that we're hungry to go hit people, and it's been evident in practice. We've almost had to like tell each other to chill out a little bit just because we're so eager to smash heads. But but it feels good to be back out there. Time off. I mean, 8 weeks is straight. It's a long time playing Big Ten football, but we're back and we're happy to be back.
How different is that vibe from previous years where maybe late in the year guys are kind of beaten down? It doesn't feel like maybe that's the case right now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we usually have a bye week here and there, but we haven't really had a normal season. It feels like in a century, but no. Um, it's a good vibe because people understand that we have 2 games by 2 games. Like it's. I mean, let's give it our all. Like it's a good mentality that our team has right now, and I'm excited to see it.
Hey, Austin, how much has Purdue changed defensively year over year? They had Diaco last year. They've got 3 defensive coordinators. Have you seen a big change in their scheme and how they play defense?
Uh, Not necessarily a big change. I mean, they're a solid defense. They got solid players. They got a solid D lineman that we're gonna have to take care of this week. But it's not really a dramatic change. Purdue's Purdue. I mean, they're a tough football team. They're disciplined at times, and I mean they beat Iowa. Iowa's a tough team. We're gonna have to give them all of our attention this week, all of our execution.
Hey, Austin, Coach Frost mentioned last week about having, after this season, to bring in a lot of guys from the transfer portal to help out. From your perspective, you've been around a lot. What does it take to help guys kind of integrate into the team that have come in from the portal?
It's just it takes a lot on our end. It takes a lot on their end too, because it's learning a whole new playbook is tough. I mean, it takes a lot of buy-in on their end to understand what our scheme is, what we're trying to get accomplished, what our rules are, what our concepts are. So it's a lot on their end. It's a lot on us too, to be willing to take the extra time to sit down in the room and talk with them. I think the greatest example of a transfer coming in and understanding stuff is Chancellor Brewington. He came in understanding exactly what we're trying to get accomplished. I think his background of understanding a collegiate playbook at Northern Arizona is awesome, and he's a smart individual too. So that's a big example that comes to my mind of somebody who's coming in and really embraced the playbook is Chancellor.
In the last couple weeks before the bye, I mean, it seemed like the ball was finding you a lot more than it had been. Was that a push by the offense to do that, or I mean, what do you kind of attribute that to? That it seemed like you're becoming a bigger part of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I attribute that to coaches finding ways to get playmakers balls. We have playmakers all across the board. I mean, Samori had his fair share, and I mean, found Omar. I mean, we were distributing the ball pretty well. I mean, last game it just kind of worked in my favor, I guess, um, of getting the ball in space and whatnot. But there's not really one thing I can point that to, just other than the play call sheet that week. I mean, happened to be in my favor.
Coach Frost mentioned that Thomas Fidoni's working his way back a little bit. What have you seen from him just in the last month, getting at least to this point where maybe he's in the conversation to see the field again?
Yeah, Thomas is a great football player. There's a lot of learning left to do. I mean, he's still young. I mean, anybody who comes into a new playbook, it's going to take a while for him to understand. But he's starting to understand the technique and what we're trying to get accomplished technique-wise. I mean, the knowledge of the playbook that's still coming too. But he's doing great things. I hope to see him in some games here, get him some experience because he's got 4 games and he can still hold a red shirt too. So I'm excited to see what he can do against some Big Ten opponents.
You think back to your early days, like how valuable would it have been in your first year to get, a couple games or just a taste of what it would be like?
Yeah, I always kind of bummed at the fact that rule came out the year after my redshirt year, but it is what it is. I mean, there's a lot to gain from being on the field. I remember my very first game. I mean, there's jitters. I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline pumping through. I mean, there's a lot of experience to gain just from even stepping on the field one time and doing one play. So I think it's valuable for them, for a guy like even Thomas, to even get on the field for a play or two.
How challenging is that as a player, though, to kind of come back middle of the season and try to work the way they can? It probably feels like the rest of the team's kind of passed you by a little bit in terms of where they're at and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's put Thomas to the side. I mean, Thomas is a great football player. I mean, an ACL injury sucks. I mean, he's in there working his tail off in the training room. I mean, it was evident that he's trying to get back as fast as possible. He's out there doing extra reps after practice, cutting and sprinting and stuff. But I mean, it's tough because you don't get the reps with the guys, so to say, in the practice. But he's embraced the role of coming back and stepping in and doing good things for us.
And you mentioned Purdue's defensive end, Karlaftis. How does he stack up against Hutchinson, Uwe Mafe, and some of the good DN? You guys feel like you see an NFL DN every week in this conference right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what you get with the Big Ten. You get big caliber players. I'm not necessarily going to compare him to, a Hutchinson or any of those guys, but he's a great football player, and he's going to take all of our attention this week. He's a great football player.
A couple of weeks back, but looking at that touchdown he had, what's the key to winning in the red zone in a play like that, where it's not necessarily you just get schemed wide open, you got to go win the ball?
Yeah, it's cool to see. A lot of times in practice, Adrian's been throwing up the ball and trusting us to go make a play. It's cool that it's finally came out in the works. We proved to him in a game now that we can do that. So hopefully that gives Adrian a little more trust to air it out a little bit and let us go make some plays.